Hello friends, in this video I am going to discuss short story A Cup of Tea by Katherine Mansfield. I'll discuss introduction to writer, her writing style, summary, character analysis, theme analysis, symbols, literary devices, and analysis of this short story. So let's begin the video. This is the text of the short story and we'll begin by introduction to writer and her writing style. Katherine Mansfield was born in 1888, who was born in New Zealand but lived most of her working life as a writer in London, and she was an expert at writing this kind of short story. She would craft a narrative surrounding an item or event that at first seems so inconsequential but ultimately reveals serious and introspective themes beneath the surface of story. And she was considered the most talented modern short story writer in English, and she is regarded as a pioneer of avant-gardism in the short story, and her writing is psychologically acute, accessible, and innovative, and there is clarity and precision in her language, and she was a resonant and distilled reaction to experience. Her style had overtones of poverty, and these topics range from problems and difficulties in families, vulnerable and fragile nature of relationships, rising middle class and its complexities, and the numbness related to them. And in her works, she questioned the nature of reality, challenged the certainties, and she changed the underpin facts of Victorian literature and replace them with modernist attributes. In her works, we see a crucial role of gender, where the story is presented from male perspective while the values are of female side. Her works focus on marginalized of society. Now the summary of the short story A Cup of Tea is set in 1920 London, and Rosemary, the main character protagonist, and is wealthy young matron, and she met her while she is on a shopping trip in town. In a antique shop, she examined expensive jewelry box that she would love to own. Yet after inquiring about the price, she decided against the purchase, at least for that day. And Rosemary returns to the street, and she is approached by a poor, wrecked looking young woman about her own age. The young woman asks for the price for a cup of tea and say she has no money, while Rosemary finds unimaginable and suddenly inspired by tales of the topics that she was recently read. Rosemary experiences a charitable inspiration and takes the girl home. And of course, the reader questions the true sincerity of Rosemary impulse, and it was her intentions were different. She did this for fame. Take the girls home. So we all believe in helping the less fortunate. However, this wealthy young woman seems more taken with her own fantasy of philanthropy more than real desire to help. At any rate, the young Miss Smith. Okay, Miss Smith was the girl or the woman that Rosemary take her to her home for a cup of tea, and Miss Smith doesn't just go home with Rosemary and given an abandoned tea with all trimmings. While they are having a tea, Mr. Philip, the husband of Rosemary, comes into bedroom and finds this unexpected guest, and he takes Rosemary into another room where he first experiences disapproval of what his wife has done, and then speaks appropriately about their poor visitor and visitor's beauty. So once back with her charitable sees, Rosemary now feels odd, feels jealousy because her husband praised the beauty of Miss Smith. What should she do? Ultimately, she gives Miss Smith some cash and sends her away, and decorate or herself with cosmetics to look beautiful, anxious about her own appearance. Rosemary takes great care in dressing for Tina and seeks reassurance of her from Philip. Now, character sketches will see Rosemary. She is materialistic and shallow character, astonishingly pretty, but today it was little perks. Okay, so it show her materialistic. She longing. She is a shopaholic and wasting money on buying small things, expensive things, and class conscious. She is class conscious, and it is portrayal discussed in the short story. The wording, I picked her up in Curzon Street. Really, she's real picked up. She asked me for price of cup of tea and I brought her home with me. And besides, she wanted to spare this poor little thing from being stared at by the servants. And she decided as they mounted the stair she would not even ring for Jenny. So there was something simple, sincere in that voice. It wasn't in the least the voice of Becca. And next character, we'll see Miss Smith. Miss Smith, she was poor, aroused reader sympathy, and the wording, such as it is shown in the short story, would you let me have the price of a cup of tea? So this shows how poor she is. She doesn't even have money to have a cup of tea. So she is scared, frightened, and afraid. You're not taking me to police station. She's afraid initially. And don't be frightened. Rosemary answer, I daren't, madam. If you mustn't be frightened, you mustn't really. Why are you afraid? So this shows she is scared and afraid, and now we'll analyze the themes. Social class or class distinction, you can call this. And Rosemary can afford to get exactly what she wants, and she is very demanding of people below her status. People from lower class were willing to please her because of her wealth and general disregard for others in lower class. Clear social boundaries by class is there, and another theme is hypocrisy is there. Okay, and so it is shown in the character of Rosemary. While she was helping Miss Smith, she her intentions were different from what might be expected, not born out of her genuinely compassionate character, a sudden urge to indulge in adventure, so she could boast about it to her friends later. So it was hypocrisy. Actually, helping Miss Smith was not a good intention. She did it for her own gain, for her own to make herself famous or well known in society. So she is a hypocrite. And another theme is materialism. Is there Rosemary was a materialistic woman. She cares about the worldly possessions. She is shopaholic and afford are the luxuries, and she is insecure about herself. Rosemary is rather a shallow person, views her status as upper class woman quite highly and living a life of materialism. And another theme is feminism as well. So this as I already told you, the writer adopt a feminist approach and portray the role of women in a society. Women are considered as rational, weak, submissive, and dependent in that society. And many women still lack freedom and independence in the male dominated world of that time. And we'll analyze symbols. Okay, the first symbol is little enamel box. So it corresponds directly with Rosemary and represent materialism, and it echoes with perfect image of Rosemary mentioned in previous para. And no practical use. Rosemary emptiness and her hypocrisy. This show the little enamel box symbolize. And second symbol is the names of characters. Rosemary is a symbol of dignified, beautiful, wealthy, upper class, and Miss Smith a common name, ordinary. Okay, and third, a cup of tea. A cup of tea symbolizes recurring motifs and title of short story and personal satisfaction for both characters. And cup of tea shows basic necessity of life. A cup of tea, which is basic necessity for upper as well as for lower class as well. And we'll see literary devices. Simile is used there for comparison, so Rosemary's internal thoughts and feelings. So these lines show simile. It was like something out of novel by Dostoevsky. This meeting in the dusk. Her heart beat like a heavy bell. And another simile is portrayal of Miss Smith in Rosemary's perspective. She was like the rich little girl in her nursery with all the cupboards to open, all the boxes to unpack, and she seemed to stagger like a child, bird like, and shivered as though she had just come out of water. So, this similar literary device is used, and that's all about analysis of the short story. Hope you understand. Notes in the description of the video. Thank you for watching.